Then we can try to have good intention for being here. And we can think us coming here together to listen and to engage in discussions, reflections, contemplations. When all of that become cause and conditions to reduce and to overcome those negative, disturbing emotions, such as the feeling of anger, hatred, jealousy, arrogant, strong desire, ignorance. And may it be cause and condition to cultivate and improve those beneficial positive state of minds, such as true love, compassion, the awakening mind of the bodhisattva, sense of contentment, tolerance, wisdom, so forth. The cause and condition to be more help, more benefit to other sentient beings, directly, indirectly, in whatever way we can. And may it be cause and condition to achieve our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So not only we can be benefit and help to others, but to be greatest help and benefit to others. And not only to few, but to all sentient beings. Okay?
Opening first, we'll start with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. 3 times in English. To the founder, the endowed, the one gone beyond, the treasure. And I fully believe in me. It's really not speaking. He should have involved in these things. Once into that. Massage. Um, Refuge and bodhicitta, once in English, twice in Tibet. I go for refuge. Definitely by
So we have been discussing about this particular practice of what we call mind training or thought transformation. Based on one particular short text. When you go to get help with anyone, always trying to see the good qualities of others. Others as In the training, third verses, we discuss about um, watching and training that we try to do. That's the way of training our mind. That's that is the verse number 3. That is the training. So we are in verse number 4. So again, whenever we see and whenever we see and it's how to train our mind. Um, mm, o- Overwhelmed by negative actions and heavy sufferings, I hold such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. good, then that is when we become more. And so with that understanding, we try to understand that person who is acting aggressive, violent, who mean he or she must be suffering a lot. He or she must be suffering a lot to react that way. He or she must be suffering a lot to engage in such behavioral actions. So when you see that and when you feel their suffering, must have been maybe um, because when you understand and when you understand why that dog is acting that way, because that dog is fearful. It is fearful because it has been abused and it's suffering because that. So while you feel compassion for the dog, you understand the fear of that dog, but at the same time you don't agree with that kind of aggressive behavior. So while you don't agree and you try to stop that aggressive behavior, at the same time you can feel compassion. If it is possible to feel that way to our dog, our cat, or any other, it's also possible to feel that for another human being when you understand that. One, that he or she must be suffering a lot to behave that way. Secondly, to also try to understand he or she might have grown up in a very difficult environment instead of like us who grow up in a better environment with more love, compassion, better surrounding, better environment. But for that person, he or she must have gone through a lot of challenges, a lot of difficult as growing up with very, very, unhealthy environment. And because of that, it affected that person. That environment made that person more and not having the help to deal with those because of not having the tools and help to deal with that. That's why that person is cruel, aggressive, mean, unkind. So again, when you feel that, even if you don't agree with such cruel, aggressive, violent behavior and action, at the same time, you understand the background, why they end up that person. And because of that, again, you can feel compassion for that person. And so it's about feeling the compassion instead of anger. That's a key, you know. Yes, I can say to both. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you give some examples of how you would react if somebody hit you or, was really mean?
Mhm. If someone come to hit you, as Dalai Lama said, try to run as fast as possible. uh, of course, if someone hit you or someone hits someone, you have to defend. You have to defend for yourself, you have to defend for someone else. But when you defend, with what kind of mind you defend, that is where the whole teaching comes. Will you defend with anger, hatred, or will you defend with loving kindness, compassion? That is the key. If another dog is trying to attack your dog, you try to defend that. But when you defend it, are you going to defend with understanding, compassion, not only for the dog that has been attacked, but that dog that is attacking? By understanding that dog must be aggressive because of certain conditions, certain situations. With that understanding, having compassion for that as well. And while being compassionate, you try to stop it and defend it from attack. Or you can try to defend it while you are being very upset and angry with that. So it is all about changing our attitude. The action in terms of defending is same. You can defend and you should defend. But with what kind of attitude or state of mind you defend, that is the key here. The key is when you are trying to defend yourself, defend others, you try to do that, but with still feeling compassion for the other person who is trying to beat or trying to attack. Yes, Major.
Even somebody with a very loud voice and, like angry looking, I just feel fear. And I would prefer to not. But I think that is what I do is I feel fear. I want to run. I want to go inside and close the door. And it's scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's understandable for most people. That is how they feel. That to feel. And so, again, if you feel kind of insecure, not safe in such environment, then of course, to avoid any kind of, harm, then just protecting yourself, being close yourself and being inside or physically kind of avoiding them is just fine. It's just fine. And you should do that. If there's a danger of harm, physical harm that can be done. So there's nothing wrong with that.
But to be thinking of the person with compassion.
Yes. But instead of getting upset and angry because that person is loud or yelling or saying nasty things or whatever, instead of feeling how horrible that person is, how unkind, how through all negative thinkings, instead of being angry and upset, then we go inside the room or wherever you need to go and then think, this person must be suffering a lot. This person must be suffering a lot for him to behave in that way and try to feel their pain and suffering. And then try to feel, when you feel their pain and suffering, then you can feel compassion. you can feel compassion. It's open to feel compassion instead of anger.
I'd like to mention this thing that happened a few years ago to me. I was in a big store and this man, I noticed him. He was with a young boy about 10 years old, 9, and he was kind of like badgering this kid. You know, he was just kind of, I don't know how to say it. He was being aggressive. He wasn't hitting him in the store, but it caught my attention and I was very worried about it. And I kind of followed them because sometimes a person's presence just interrupts things. And I didn't have the courage to say anything. And I just followed this guy and this boy outside the store. It was like I just knew something bad was going to happen. And that guy, yes, he opened the door of the car and kind of kicked the little boy inside. And I didn't know what to do. And I wanted to interrupt it somehow. And because you can be sure that's not the first or only time that kind of thing happens to that little boy. And but I think if I could have said to that guy in the store something like, oh, I hope you're going to be having a better day soon, or I don't know what, but something just to interrupt it, I think it would have been better. But I didn't have the courage and I didn't know what to do or what to say. And it was very disturbing because I was powerless, and so I guess even if I had like just thought for that guy, please do not harm this boy, please, just take care of yourself, take care of the boy. If I thought something like that, it would have been better. I think.
And definitely. You can think, you can pray in your heart, that the person and the boy, that they don't hurt and damage themselves by hurting the others. And again, to find more understanding, compassion, all of that, and to feel compassion, again, seeing that person must be going through a lot of suffering or challenge as a difficulty for that person to act and behave in that way. And sometimes it's ignorance, culturally. Maybe for that person is not acting in a harmful way. It's just like someone can make joke on someone, and for some people it could sound like mean, and for some people it doesn't sound like a mean. It's just a joke, and it depends on how people take on that. Even the person who is saying the joke, maybe he or she is not trying to make any kind of hurt the other persons. It's just a way of kind of making them laugh, or just. But for some it could be hurtful. For some it might not be hurtful. The person who is kind of made the object of joke, or for even people who are kind of observing it, some people might have different take on that. So again, it sometimes is culture, sometimes is from certain point of view, it is ignored from certain point of view. So again, it could be whatever, it could be. So again, trying to understand why they are acting that way, to feel compassion. not to agree with the actions, and as we try to protect such actions, but not having a negative thoughts, feeling, because that negative thought and feeling doesn't help you, doesn't help the other person, doesn't help the situation. It only makes things worse. It only hurts everyone involved, having that kind of bad negative feelings. So that is the key here. The key is changing that attitude. And so as we were saying, sometimes it could be because of their upbringing, their conditions, impact them to become who they are. Sometimes like such behavior is because, not because that person is a bad person, but just because that is part of their culture. Nobody really see it as it's a bad. They see it as a way of disciplining the child in a good way, so it's not necessarily bad, so it's just different because certain culture, a certain time, and a certain awareness. I mean, I grew up in that kind of environment in my country, and I don't see it because of, I don't know, I don't see that, I never saw that as bad. Of course, it wasn't blatant, getting hit by my father, but I understand is that their way of discipline, and this is the only way they know, that's the way they know how to discipline. They don't know other way to discipline. The intention best for the child is being wild and not being disciplined, and they want to discipline for the best of the child, but they don't know other way to do it sometimes. And this, sometimes they have tried some other way and it didn't work. Then they think this is the way to do it. And so, I grew up, my brothers grew up in that kind of environment. But of course, that is not saying excuse for him to do that, but I never felt it was that way, So sometimes my father didn't have other way. He didn't know other way to discipline, you can say ignorance, or not having enough awareness, you can say, but sometimes, so anyway, so sometimes there is that part as well. In some cases, it is that. So anyway, sometimes it could be ignorance, not having awareness. Sometimes it doesn't mean that person is really aggressive in that person. Sometimes it doesn't mean that. And sometimes it's their upbringing. That is how they were brought up, and that is how what they know to do. And then if you think of, even it is not influenced by the environment, also sometimes it could be from the past imprint. So again, the reason why they are aggressive, violent is because of their past imprint. Not because that person is really, the reason why he or she acts that way is because there's some energy or behind that, and that they past strong imprint. And they have that strong imprint to behave and act that way, and they don't have the tools or means to how to encounter such behavior, how to act that behavior, how to change that behavior. Sometimes even you have those imprint from the past. If you get the right help, you can still change that. You don't have to act that because you have the imprint. You don't have to behave and act that way all the time. But sometimes you need, in order to change that behavior action, you need the help, and you need to have the right help, the tools, the right tools. And sometimes not all people have those tools. Sometimes people cannot receive the help or the right tools. So through such contemplation, meditations, then we try to feel compassion. by understanding why they are behaving that way. Why they are behaving that way. Yes.
How do you hold these people dear as if you found a precious treasure? How do you do that? Do you pray to them or?
No, by seeing that such people give us opportunity to learn and to grow. You know, if everyone is nice and good, sometimes we don't grow because we don't have the opportunity. When life is so easy, when you don't have challenge, it's hard to grow. But when life becomes challenged and difficult, and if you apply the right tool, then it helps you become stronger. It helps you to grow, understand what life is about, understand the struggle the other goes through. Because you yourself have gone through those struggles, so you understand what struggle, what pain it is to be in that situation. Sometimes when you have never gone through those struggles, sometimes it's hard to imagine the other people's struggles. What they are talking about, their struggles. They cannot relate. They have no experience to relate with that. So then it is hard for them to truly understand and imagine what it is like to be. And so therefore it's hard to grow and have understanding. But when someone has gone through all these kind of different challenges, difficulties, pains, suffering, struggles, in general, they have more opportunity to grow and become more strong, and then they can relate other people's struggles, other people's pain, other people's suffering more because they themselves have gone through that. And so, and from that perspective, then it is an opportunity for us to grow, encountering such people. Opportunity to grow. And so something that helps you to grow spiritually, something that helps you to become stronger and grow and as a human being, as a person, someone who will help you to grow on a spiritual level, to be more patient, loving, kindness, compassion. So then you regard as something as dear, precious. Because you see that contributes for your growth. So that is how we try to see. If you try to contemplate and see, and you can feel, yes, indeed, they are really contributing for my growth in so many different ways. Then you can begin to see how precious it is to have that opportunity and for us to be able to grow. And so then you begin to feel preciousness of that, dearness of that. And so when you see that preciousness and dearness of that, then you don't feel so upset and angry. And that main thing is not to feel angry and upset, because it doesn't help. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, and also caution, it doesn't mean that you allow them to hit you or hurt you or harm you or hurt someone else and hurt and harm them. It doesn't mean that. You need to protect yourself and others being harmed and hurt and all of that, but the right intention, right attitude, right state of mind. And that is forcefully with loving kindness, compassion. If not loving kindness, compassion, at least not to have harsh negative feelings. Harsh negative feelings, that's the key. Not to have harsh negative feelings. So I think that is the one here. Yeah, any questions regarding that? If not, then we go to the verse number 5. when out of envy, others mistreat me. So when out of any of negative emotions, jealousy or envy can be one of the reasons why they are, why they are abusive, insulting, aggressive, humiliating, or sometimes it doesn't have to be out of jealousy, it could be out of anger, it could be out of ignorance, it could be out of greediness. So it doesn't matter what the motivations or the state of mind that they act that way. Basically, either out of jealousy or whether out of arrogance, whether it's out of anger, whether it's out of ignorance, whether it's out of weakness, whatever. When someone tries to abuse us, insult us, humiliate us, criticize us, put us down, so forth, of course, our normal reaction, ordinary, is being very hurt by such behavior, feeling very hurt, feeling being harmed, hurtful, harmful, and through such hurtful, harmful behavior and actions, when we feel that harm and hurt and harm, then our immediate response or reactions is anger, upset, hatred, harsh, evil feelings, wishing something bad for that person, wishing something negative for that person's, sometimes sense of wanting to take revenge, response, same way. So that is how our ordinary human beings' response is. But here, he's saying when you are training in the Bodhisattva path, when you're training in the Bodhisattva path, even in such situation, we shouldn't respond with such negative, harsh feelings, anger, hatred, wishing them negative, wishing them pain, suffering. We shouldn't respond or react that way. Otherwise, then if we respond that way, we react that way, then again, we are losing compassion with someone, we are losing true loving kindness to someone. And through that, then we are, losing the path of the Bodhisattvas. The Bodhisattva path is to have compassion and loving kindness for all sentient beings, regardless of how they treat you, whether they treat you well or whether they treat you bad. Regardless of that, still trying to have compassion, trying to have loving kindness, and trying to have the bodhicitta mind to help and benefit them. And so it goes against that very principle path. And so therefore not having that. And in such case, I accept defeat and offer the victory to them. It's not easy. It's not easy, That is the very opposite of how we normally think, Normally we take the victory to ourselves and give the defeat for us all the time. Something goes wrong, we find the excuse and blame someone else. Something goes right, we find a way to take the credit ourselves. Isn't it? I think that is You see in bigger picture and small, taking the government. Something goes wrong, everyone is blaming the other parties. Nobody is taking the blame. Every time there's problem, suffering, whether it's in the border or whether with all other problems, gun violence and all other different problems that we see in this country and around the world. No party is saying, oh, we're mistake. We take blame for that. Our policy, our action was wrong. They always see the other party's policies. It always, but regardless of which government comes, always is because the other party's policies. That is big on bigger level, and then you come to smaller, and the organization, different institution, similar. It's always, and then on individual level, with at home, two individuals, because you did that, you voted, that is why it's happened. No, it is not me, because you said that, you did that. Nobody's willing to take the blame and the defeat. But when something changes, something positive happens, maybe there's better situations in the health, violence, border everywhere, then every government is going to say, oh, this is because the policy we did, because all the things we did right, this and that. They will, both parties will try to take credit for that. That's our ordinary human being mentalities. Ordinary way of looking at responsible. That is the big problems. That's the big problems. That's the big problems. Always blaming the others, giving the defeat to others, and taking the credit for oneself or taking the victory oneself all the time. And so, and that creates the other person doesn't want to take the defeat. You don't want to take the defeat. Other person want to take the victory. You want to take the victory. And so then there's a crisis. There's a crisis. And there's crisis and there's bad feeling to each other because we start blaming each others for the situation, for the problem, instead of trying to figure out where accepting blame when we do make mistake or when there is we contribute to something that willing to take the blame, and willing to acknowledge the blame and willing to change it, So, so then, one way of looking relating with that, if we are receiving all this kind of criticism, insults, humiliations, whatever one of thinking is, taking the defeat on ourselves is, well, I must have done similar actions to that person in the past. I must have humiliated him or her. I must have criticized him or her. I must have put down that person, him or her, in the past. As a result, karmic result now is coming back to me. As a karmic result is coming back to me. I must have done something to them in the past, even though I cannot remember clearly. But from karmic point of view, I must have done the same thing to them for them to force them to do acting that way to that karmic energy. And so therefore, in that sense, you accept from your karmic point of view. and take the defeat in yourself. Instead of blaming the person, you blame your karma. You blame the karma. And that karma is created because of our own delusion and our own self-centeredness. So if you need to blame, then the very root of all this is the selfish attitude and all those attitude emotions. If there's something to be blamed, it is those ones. So from that perspective, taking on yourself and accepting it that, and that's the way of defeating yourself, taking the defeat from the point of view of understanding karmic point of view. You give the victory to them, in a sense, in a way, as it is mentioned, the both of way of life, in a way, maybe there's not so much to blame them all. When karmic energy is so strong, even they don't want to do that, it forces them to do that. They don't want to insult you, and they are trying very hard not to insult you, but they cannot stop from insulting you. They are thinking, oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. It's insulting, it's abusive. And you try very hard to hold on that, not say it, but you cannot stop it. You should not stop it from not using that abuse or insult, because there's some energy that kind of is too strong energy to kind of let you do that. So from that perspective, it's like some kind of karmic energy pull them. It's like a magnet that pulls the metal. Karmic energy pull them to acting that way, and from that understanding, then we offer the victory to them and take the defeat on ourselves from the karmic kind of understanding. If we are able to do that, if we don't blame them in that way, there is no reason to get upset and angry, because we take that from our karmic responsibility. We accept this as a result of our karmic wrapping, and so therefore, it is like there is a candle and there is a wind, and that wind blow something to cause the fire. So it has no control. The wind just blow it to start it. And similarly, the karmic wind blow in such a way that they don't have control. When karmic, the karmic energy is too strong, and when it's too strong to wrap, and then that is what that karmic wind blow, and through that blowing of karmic wind energy, then even they don't want to get upset. Sometimes they get upset. Even they don't want to be abusive, they cannot stop from being abusive, so on and so on. And so from that again, the whole things of training in that is again not to get upset. Verse number 5, verse number 4, 3, they all are more or less toward not to get upset, angry, and have a hard feelings with the different situations, and with a different way of thinking, different way of contemplating meditation or analytical meditation. It's a different way of looking the situation differently, and through that looking, that contemplation or that analyzing, not to get upset and angry. That is the main thing. But again, not getting upset and angry doesn't mean, again, we don't protect ourselves. As we mentioned in the previous word, we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect others from being harmed. But again, without being upset and angry. And not get upset and angry is not enough to say, I shouldn't get upset and angry. We all know we shouldn't get upset and angry. And we all try very hard not to get upset and angry. But it doesn't just stop from just saying wishing to not get upset and angry, or praying not to get upset and angry. You get upset and angry because of your certain attitudes, certain perspective, or certain view of that situation. When you change your understanding that view by looking from different angles, different perspective, when you change that perspective, then the emotion that comes because of that perspective changes. Before you blame that person for the suffering. Do you get it? So because of that abusive insult or putting down, you feel hurt and harm. And we blame that person for that harm, pain, and suffering, the hurt, the harm. And because you blame that person, so therefore, when you blame that person, the feeling of anger and hatred, those negative feelings just arises because based on that perspective. But when you change that perspective, instead of blaming the person, you blame the karma. And the root of the karma, the delusion, then there's no reason to blame that person for that. And we don't blame them, you change your perspective. And when you change that perspective, then you don't feel angry and upset and that for them. Maybe you might even feel compassion for them, for making them involved, even they don't want to get involved. You know, it's like even they don't want to get involved, but your karmic wind energy made them to get involved. So instead, you feel compassion. I'm sorry, you shouldn't get involved, but you have to get involved. Do you get it? Sometimes we feel that way. You know, you don't have to get involved. You shouldn't be involved. You shouldn't. I don't want you to get with this our problem, and you shouldn't be problem. But somehow you have to get involved. I'm very sorry. You feel sorry for them. You feel compassion for them because there's nothing. They don't want to get involved, or we make them get involved somewhere, and so our karma make them get involved inside. So, yes, Mary Jo.
I don't think that I can believe in. Thank you.
So, so that is. Yeah. It's interesting, you know, how we try to take credit in victory whenever anything good happens in our life. Very hard for us to give credit to others for good things happening in our life. You know, we feel like I work hard, it's my good karma. You know, I work very hard. I did this and that. I had to go through so much struggles. I had to go through this to reach where I am and what I've achieved, what I've accomplished, or what I have. It's hard to blame, hard to give credit to others. But when something goes wrong, immediately is blame someone out there. Immediately, it's hard to take responsibility. Say, you know, maybe it was my mistake. Maybe I did something wrong. Or it's my bad karma, negative karma. It's hard. Even as a Buddhist practitioners, even we have learned about this karma and even we believe in karma. When bad things happens, if someone says it's bad karma, oh, How dare you say that? You know? If someone try to mention us, oh, it's your bad karma right into you, I don't think we'll take it good in a positive way, in a nice way, you know. But when good things happen, when someone says it's your good karma, yes, I'm happy to, I'm very, very happy to accept that. That is true. It's my good karma. Very, you know, willingness and open to accept. But when bad things happen, not willing to accept that. How can it be my karma? It's his fault, her fault. How can it be my karma? That is just an excuse, you know. So, but if you want to be fair, honest and fair, if you are willing to accept the credit and good karma for all the good things that happen, you should be also fair and honest to accept when bad things happen, to accept responsibility and accept as a cause of our negative karma. Then that is more fair, more honest. But that is not how we are at the moment, you know. And so that is here the practice is to transform and change that, you know.
It's also a good way to let go of things, let go of your suffering, let go of bad feelings.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially if we come from karmic point of view, not only from karmic point of view, when we see it's not, I'm not only going through those struggle, challenge, suffering, pain because of previous karma, but also I'm cleansing and purifying. Sometimes we only think, when we think of, oh, it's the result of negative karma. So when you just think just is a result of negative karma, it has some kind of negative negative
Connotation.
connotations. But when you see it's not just experience the result, but actually it's cleansing and purifying. It has supposed to put connotations, positive feeling to it, something meaningful. So then you don't feel something bad, you know. It's something like when you have some kind of, let's say, food poisoning, and you take some medicine so that it can cleanse. Of course, you have to go to the toilet often when you're doing that kind of cleansing. Is discomfort, uncomfortable. But at the same time, you feel good about it because you are cleansing whatever that poison there is. Now you are cleansing them and taking down. And so you feel good about it. If you, even after you take the medicine and still you don't, it doesn't come and you go to toilet, it doesn't come, then you might feel what's happening, and you know. So despite this discomfort, still the feeling good because you see it's a cleansing and getting rid of that, and it's process of healing, cleansing. Same way that we try to see with when we experience not only just as a result of negative karma. A lot of time we just get caught up in that. Oh, it's result of negative karma. I must have done bad. I must be bad, or all this. Instead, we say, oh, it's wonderful. Now it's cleansing. It's healing, cleansing, clearing all these negative energies that I don't have to deal anymore in the futures. And so in that way, again, we try to not hold on that and see something more positive instead of negative. Yes.
And that karma could be from long ago, couldn't it?
Mhm.
Lifetimes ago, not necessarily something immediate that we did yesterday, or last week, last year. something.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It could be from you know, last lifetime. It could be from 10 years lifetime, 10 lifetime, it could be 100 lifetime, before 100 lifetime, thousands, millions, billions, trillions. So it could be from any of those times. Yeah. Okay, so then we do the dedications. So again, yeah.
One more, is that what you're talking about?
No, the triple. Oh. We dedicate the merit created by listening to this teaching to all beings everywhere on every prayer list. We are specifically going to dedicate for those experiencing obstacles: Jana, Adrian, Lyra, Mary Jo, Gilbert T, Matthew Althoff, Jack Holland, Laura, and Alyssa. For those experiencing illness, specifically Janine, Jane, Patty, Bill, Maddie, Taddy, Carol, Joanne, Lisa Pichetto, Gilbert, Daniel, De Maria, and Joe Cooney. And those who are dying or who have died in the last 49 days: Mary Ann Handrick, David M., Robin Barrett, Diane Schmidt, Dagoberto Alvaro, Frank M., Cody H., Two Gophers and the Chipmunk, Melissa Saiz, Ariel's dog, Janet Webb, Augustine Mondragon, Jeanette A., and Bill Bill Nice.
Janet,
Yes.
repeat that, to you know, this, eight folks.
Yeah. All right. We'll do our dedication prayers. Once in Tibetan. Gewadi. And long life prayers for His Holiness Father Thomas in English. The wish granting, wish fulfilling tool, sword with every single benefit and happiness in this world. To the infinitely kind to us, I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher and the assembly of the children of the victorious ones, surrounded and party of Buddhas, victorious love of Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Buddhist precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request, while striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teaching. The sole gateway through which all benefiting happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great grace of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate survival. And then the for Osokita, Lama Yeshe's reincarnation. Venerable one, to you whose kindness exceeds that of all commoners, for those wanderers in far off places, especially the West, mindful of your loving concern for us, intentionally stepping again into a family of a far distant land. We make this request, O Lama, please, please live on.
So thank you very much. And again, it seems like tomorrow and day after tomorrow is Dalai Lama is having the research tomorrow and day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
Tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So they advise to do some